Welcome back, whoever's watching this. And today I'm going to use some notes and I'm going to use um, some visual aids, stuff like that. I want to talk about something. Let's watch something funny.
Hands, where technology and tradition merge into a single breath.
It's like a futuristic Atlantean Jewish utopia or whatever. And I want you to notice, I'm going to stop it because it's funny. I want you to look at this. The ocean is then promised 4,000 years ago. Sohel is underwater. Zioshock, this thing. The ocean was promised to them 3,000 years ago. Careful for the dolphins. All these mildly or fully on anti-Semitic jokes. And if we scroll down a little bit, you can see these funny things. But let's look at another thing. Look at this. When you realize you can freely drive around with swastikas on your Tesla, and people will just assume it got vandalized. Now, this is from America History X, which is a very good movie. I recommend wholeheartedly. But if we scroll down, you see this. You see? Now let's now that we're all enjoying ourselves, let's talk about this. So first of all, a lot of these people, this is a real person, okay? Okay, so a lot of these people are bots. There's a lot of bots, and I think before I start making my point, I think that the discourse online, it's not only my thoughts. This is factually, you can fact check this online on your own. A lot of the discourse online is driven by intelligence agencies, China, Israeli, Russians, whoever, Pakistanis, that create these fake spoof accounts, and you can see that they have almost no posts, almost no friends, and they spam the same ideas to drive the conversation into anti-Semitism. Now, I find these memes very funny, and I'm Jewish from Israel, so this is hilarious to me. But what I want to talk about, and I'm going to use my notes real quick, is something else. So the accounts that are real are usually men, young white guys. The accounts that are making anti-Semitic um, jokes, like they were promised 3,000, this was promised to them 3,000 years ago, and this Adolf thing and the swastika jokes and all that, are a lot of white young people. Now, um, I'm I will concede totally, totally, that there are people and organizations and the culture in the West that is working against young white guys in the West. This is a fact. There is uncontrolled immigration. There is uh, feminism, third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave, even the first ones and second one, that are actually pushing for feminization of the schools. They've already done that. And a discourse that institutionalizes, medicalizes, or makes masculinity a problem for kids and for adults. These are facts. That's not my interpretation. Now, when young men are going through their journey of self-discovery, there's a lot. It's a very normal stage to go through frustration and projection. This is healthy, even. Somebody that goes through something and goes through a self-realization process, maturation, what they would do, what I did and many others people do, is look outwards and get and frame their situation through what's happening to them by other people, finding somebody else to blame. And that is, like I said, a healthy progress. It's normal, but it's a stop. It's not a destination on your journey. Now, like I said, the reality of of Western men, white Western men, is not good, to say the least. Not good. But what happens is, so let's start with the process. The process starts with men trying to find a direction, and masculinity, which is being trampled on everywhere. In culture, men are always portrayed as either weak or violent, white guys especially, ridiculed, and they gravitate, and I gravitate, I'm part of this, to masculinity, to what is considered masculine. Working out, I work out a lot. Martial arts, discipline, laws, structure, absolutely. And then what guys do is trying to build a identity that rejects the anti-masculinity and the weakness, which is, like I said, is a healthy thing. And that is where this anti-Semitism slips in as a trick to find an out group, to find somebody to blame. And I'll before everybody jumps out and says, no, the Jews, let's hold on for a second, listen to my points, and you can argue as much as you want when I'm finished, because I'm trying to make a pretty long point. I know today we're not doing long points these days, but bear with me. So the like I said, the feeling of white young men that they have less room in the world is real. Internet, the media lionize hypergamy, lionize women choosing mates by their hierarchy, not I mean makes it even hypergamous. Okay, women are less available emotionally, and though there's a 1% perception that 1% is getting a lot more women than the rest of the guys. That the sexual marketplace is slanted even more strongly than it used to be, because that is evolution, towards the tippy top. And that is a fact. Those are real things that other people address. A lot of people address. Whatever podcast, and Andrew Wilson, and a lot of people talk about that. That's not what I'm trying to get at right now. Also, I will concede, like I said, before everybody jumps and says the Jews are overrepresented everywhere. Okay? This is a fact. Jews are overrepresented in media, industry, in culture, in finance. That is true. But here's when it gets tricky, and what people don't like doing is applying nuance to something. The fact that Jews are overrepresented in fields doesn't prove a conspiracy, a Jewish conspiracy. You would have to apply the same skepticism that we apply towards feminism when it says there's a patriarchy, and when we make fun of them, when they say that, like there's a patriarchy meeting, like men hung out or sent each other emails and just decided to demean and dominate women as if this happened. That's a ridiculous statement. And saying the Jews sat down, had all Jews had like a meetup to allow for things like mass migration and feminization of the culture, etc. That is insane. It's not insane to theorize, but it's insane to claim as a fact without any substantiation. correlation doesn't mean causation. I know that it's a cliche, but it's a fact. It's not rooted or anchored in reality. Moreover, once young men who claim to want to find their masculinity find a narrative that projects responsibility and blame outwards and puts them at isolated position from Western society, rather than working in it or trying to do or work against this deterioration, degradation, and degeneration, you're actually helping those people that are trying to mess up Western society. What they're trying to do is separate the men from the women, make you feel like you can't do anything, and once you capitulate, this is capitulation. You're basically shooting yourself in the leg. Instead of building or rebuilding, you're adding to the destruction. You're speeding up the destruction. If there are these groups that are trying to destroy Western society, you are aiding and abetting those groups by memeing yourself to death, by blaming the Jews all the time. You're not convincing anybody. You're not striking allies. You're not changing the discourse. Notice, nobody's stopping these jokes. Think about it. If these jokes were really problematic, they would be stopping them. They're everywhere. You're just increasing polarization, and you're increasing the loneliness, and you're increasing the loneliness that you're feeling and the isolation that you're feeling. You're making yourself more isolated. Now, I want to make a very important distinction. There is a distinction between acknowledging the world is working against you, which it is. It is working against you. That is a fact. Saying reality is tough and we're working uphill and against all odds. And the other thing, which is not the same thing, is victimizing yourself and making this victimization your self-definition. That makes you weak, and that also makes you feminine. That is what women do. Victimization of oneself is a feminine trait. That's not masculine. That's not stoic. That's a girl move. That's a bitch move. When you're externalizing your problems, real as they may be, when you're externalizing your problems, you're basically begging for somebody else to come fix them for you. That's not a solution. It's begging masquerading as fighting. You're not helping. You're not manly. You're not masculine by doing those things. I know, because I did that for many, many years. Real men understand what's up against them and act in the world in order to fix it. Blaming the Jews, plural, with this meme war, all of these funny things, which again I find hilarious, but acting like this is reality or the Jews are out to get you without doing anything, of course non-violent, without bettering yourself, getting more money, getting more power, being politically active, without doing that, you just a bitch. You're not doing anything. You're not building anything. It's not a solution. It's moaning. It's whining. You're not a man standing up for truth. You're a child complaining. You're a child throwing a tantrum. And people who solve problems don't just point out problems and not offer solutions. Men don't do that. Who asks to be listened to without a solution, without giving advice? Women do that. Women want you to listen to them, to their problems, and participate in their misery. That's what they want, empathy. Men fix problems. And whining and being defeated and defeatist, passive aggressive, that's again a bitch move. That's not what a man does. Again, men take ownership of what's happening and fight against it actively, not violently, of course. That's not what I'm advocating for. That's not my point. And I want to take a lot of these people are anti-Marxist and stuff like that. And I want to take Marx, for example. You are, by being black-pilled or even slightly red-pilled, you're being a bitch like Marx. Karl Marx never worked a day in his life. Karl Marx was a very smart guy that saw reality as it is. His analysis, his and Engels' analysis of culture and society is genius. It's beautiful. But the prescription is retarded. That is because they were children. They were not adults. They did not mature enough to understand that the fact that there are elites and there is a culture that perpetuates itself to the detriment of some people doesn't mean that the bottom 50% of people, that the proletariat or working people that have common sense are going to rise up and upend everything. It's not how things work. If you want to make things work, you find a solution. Usually solutions do not include tearing down everything, blaming other people. Usually solutions start with building yourself up and then your community up. That's how solutions work. And you know that I'm right. And like I said, you're not even looking at the problem correctly. The problem isn't the Jews, because you can't even substantiate that. Again, if there are comments, I'll be happy to hear comments, even bad comments. I can hear the counter argument. No, the Jews are here and they have meetings in Bilderberg and they go to synagogues. That's not true. That's not. You can see it. I'm a Jew. I know many Jews. I don't know Jared Kushner or anybody else who knows him. And then you think Jared Kushner has any kind of connection to George Soros and his family, or George Soros is any kind of a Jew, then you're fucking delusional. The problem is that we have a culture that is eating itself, and you're part of the problem. Instead of realizing that the issue here is the culture cannibalizing itself, and if you want to point out organizations specifically, or the schools, or specific people that are doing that, fine. If you want to say that there's an overrepresentation of Jews in those things, again, fine, I'm with you. But you cannot sit and whine and throw a tantrum and say, the Jews took my lunch, without doing anything. Posting memes isn't political action, doesn't lead to anything. It's funny, I love it, but you're not doing anything. You're being a girl, and you don't want to be a girl, you want to be a man. Men act against odds in the world. Men find solutions to problems while making hilarious memes. That's it. That's my point for today. Thank you. Love you.